We are just so excited. I am Deborah Pascali Benaro of Orgasmic Birth, and this is really special because I'd like to introduce our special guest today for our Orgasmic Birth Practitioner membership. Yanique Bell is a Tantric intimacy and empowerment coach, also known as the Pussy Queen. I have to say, I love your name there.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. And I, honest to God, love your work.
Oh, thank you. And it's mutual because I've been following you for a while now, and that's why I was so honored you agreed to come and join us because you're doing such important work and your own personal journey. Just reading your bio, I was like, I want to learn a little bit more about that because you've been on this journey, and in that, you're bringing this experience to so many.
Yeah, it's definitely the path that I didn't think I would take, but my own personal journey led me to it. And I was just like, this is what I'm going to be doing in the world. And just feel it. So I think our work actually really well overlaps. I think the same thing that creates an orgasmic birth is also what creates a pleasure-packed orgasmic pussy. Really, love and connection can infuse love into your genitals, but also doing that on a really somatic level. So like maybe sending loving energy to your pussy, feeling genuine love for your pussy, and that is actually something that is a really hard step. It's a hard first step if you are someone who, like me, did not ever really look at her pussy, never took a mirror to, right, to even see what was down there. So if you're not connected, it's hard to like have love. So that is really my first key, is to create that line of connection. And I have, a few practices. So I've already named just breathing, pelvic breathing, pussy breathing. You can send loving energy, and also using loving language and touch with love, touch with the intent to connect and feel and, see what's there.
I love that. And you gave a lot in there, right? From the breathing and the connection and the touching, but I also like the mirror. And I
Yes.
feel that's a huge one, right? Like I've met so many women that have not taken the time to really look, right? It's
Yeah.
amazing because, those that have, male genitalia, penises, they see them all the time, right? And they touch them all the time because it's a part of that care and daily process. But I think,
Yeah.
with pussies, we can go many people a lifetime and not really take good looks in the mirror. So, how do you guide someone if they've been like shy about that? Are you finding that's a barrier for some people taking a nice look?
It definitely was one of the first steps for me. And I think it is a first step for a lot of women, just looking and seeing what's here. And I usually, I do that guiding with, giving women also language. So learning what each part is. So this is the vulva, this is your mons, these are your lips, your outer inner lips. And so just showing, where each part is, not just the clitoris. I think the clitoris is having her heyday. She is, a lot of women know how to find her now. Yes. But also recognizing there's other parts to your pussy as well. And they can also be very, very pleasurable. Which actually brings me to the second key that I have around how to develop a pleasure packed pussy, which is knowledge, training, practice. So actually learning the different parts, and then also how to touch yourself, and learning how to stimulate and invite pleasure into new areas. So I work with women within the tantric tradition. I work with sexual energy, freeing your sexual energy so you can have more full bodied, full pussied orgasms. But you can also do this with just simple techniques. If you are working with your clitoris, making sure that you're playing with your entire pussy and not just the clitoris, but really inviting a whole body experience.
what I'm listening to as I'm kind of translating is when you're getting that vagina to be more sensitive in pleasure, then when you're giving birth, you're also going to
Yes.
have easier access to that pleasure. So, what fantastic preparation. Thank you, Yannick. These are great
You're
tips.
welcome. You're welcome.
And in pregnancy, your work. I can just envision that people that are working with you and open and heal and expand their pleasure and their pussy, then in birth, they're going to have access to these elements and tools in ways that the vast majority of people don't. And that's why we're here. That's why I
Yeah.
wanted to create the orgasmic birth practitioner path so that more people that work in birth could have this knowledge of how can we help our clients. They might not come to us thinking that, they're going to enhance their sexuality. They're just preparing for birth. But we have this unique window to say preparing for birth can and I believe should include every aspect of you, including your sexuality.
100%. I think it definitely is a spiritual journey as well. And I mean, even with connection, do you notice that once a woman is deeply connected, the feeling of pain shifts, or like the experience of pain shifts? Because that's what I've been kind of teaching with menstrual cramps, which is like a
Yes.
mini birth. But I definitely feel the difference of like when I'm resisting the pain, where I'm like, oh my God, here it comes. And I'm like almost coming out of my body instead of going in. And the second I go tune in, and I even will talk to my cervix and be like, it's okay, release it. But like it goes so differently. Do you notice that with your birthing experiences?
Yes, totally. I always love this saying, what you resist persists. So
Mm-hmm.
when we are getting the sensations, I call them surges, our own personal power surges. So when those
Mm-hmm.
surges are coming, if you resist them, they often are intense and they can be very painful. But when you flow with them, like you said, talking to your cervix, and what a beautiful way in menstruation, but also in birth, right? Our cervixes are so deeply opening to the fullest
Mm-hmm.
ever to let a baby through. And yet, as we're learning, right, our cervix is also filled with all these wonderful nerve endings that can bring us pleasure. So, yeah, a different experience when we can prepare for it in a different way. And fear, shuts us down, where trusting and confidence and understanding our bodies and understanding what's available to us can create completely different, orgasmic experiences. And
Mm-hmm.
and for me, just orgasmic doesn't have to be orgasm. It
Yeah.
can certainly include the people that are blessed to have, we call them birthgasms in labor,
Mm-hmm.
that have these birthgasms. But there are so many other aspects to pleasure that we can access. So I wouldn't want orgasmic birth with orgasm to be a performance standard. I think we have
Yeah.
enough things on us, but
Oh
certainly
my
the
goodness.
opportunity to have pleasure both during the surges, but sometimes the surges could be intense and the pleasure can be in between, right? We
Mm-hmm.
have these
Mm-hmm.
waves and moments, and when we feel pleasure in between, then the next surge is going to feel different. Like you said, those menstrual cramps will feel different when you're taking those moments.
Oh my gosh, you're after my own heart, because this is one of the distinguishing like things that I like to teach, because I think even within like the orgasmic sphere of like becoming more, sexually fluent or embodying your sex goddess, there can be a performative element. And so one of the things I like to also bring women into is like seeing it not as like you're going to your pussy to get that orgasm out. Like, like like you're doing it because you love it, because you love your body, you're touching yourself at love. And so pleasure can become like orgasmic to me is like feeling waves of love, feeling waves of surrender. It can be anything. And so like even I guess breaking down all the definitions we have around orgasm, it being this explosive thing, and learning how to experience other kinds of orgasmic experiences. So I just love that it's not, it doesn't have to be orgasmic. in terms of like an explosive orgasm, but it can be very highly pleasurable.
Highly pleasurable. And I love how you say, too, back to connection and love. Like for me and for many people I talk to, their orgasmic birth was this like connection to divine, connection to
Mm,
the universe, this like expansive feeling of deep power and love, right? Which you
wow.
don't even, there aren't even really words. Those words don't even fit it, but those are the words that I can share. This would be foundational, right? Then they
Yeah.
could just expand upon it. So what you're doing is so important, Yanique. So give us your third key.
Yeah, so my third key is actually safety. And it's one of the things that really stood out to me in the film is like that's also a key, and like the bright lights and the hospital gown and the strangers in the hospital. I could see how it's like it's a totally different vibe versus if you're home or you're in a chosen birth center, which still has, you know, all the equipment that you need. So you still feel safe knowing that there's medical help if you need it. But that safety is huge. It's huge in terms of, you know, having your pussy open up, even just working with your vaginal opening and having safety around, you know, what gets to come in, what gets to come out. That's one of the things that I will work with women a lot around being sexually sovereign, as I like to call it. So having that connection where you are honoring your pussy's yeses, your pussy's no, can really establish a sense of safety within your body so that your pussy knows you know, you're someone she can trust. Like you won't necessarily override. And it's okay. There are times when, you know, I say yes to things. I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel good. I'm not going to do that next time. Right. And so you learn, you know, what feels good and what doesn't, but like really listening to your body and creating safety within yourself and also within your environment, making sure your environment is safe. The people you're with are safe.
I love that. And I love how you say that personal kind of pussy sovereignty, that we really listen. And what a gift, right? I think how often, it would be a question for everyone listening, how often do you listen? And how often do people override that, right?
Yeah.
And when we take that to birth, think about what we're thinking in birth when we really listen. I mean, in an average hospital, like strangers are coming in and doing vaginal exams and putting their hand in your pussy, right? And, you know, how many people really want that? And yet we have been conditioned again. I call it almost, you know, like abuse that, you know, if we were in a public situation, we would say, no way, right? We would listen. But in a medical situation, we're conditioned to sometimes do things that were our real no's.
I totally agree. It's a big one. And, you know, thankfully I've been in this work for so long that I can speak up, but I know so many women aren't able, they don't feel that strong, or like, you know, the knowing that your doctor knows more than you can really like shut you down or make you feel like, oh, I'm being crazy. And I definitely feel that from time to time.
Yeah. Now, when you are working with individuals, right, and people can join you to do that work, I know you even have some classes too that you'll have to tell us about coming up. I mean, do you work with not only us being able to find our own yes or no, but how do we communicate it to a
Mhm.
partner?
Yeah, so learning how to speak it is in terms of, you know, letting your partner know, especially if someone you've been in a long-term relationship with, having that conversation and letting them know. Because I think I'm now actually opening my practice to work with men and couples, but I think a lot of men feel like they should know, right? They should know what a woman wants. And, you know, even just simply educating them on the fact that the way that the nerves innervate in a woman's body is different for every single woman. So you can't possibly know. Like it would be impossible. So you gotta like listen to me, right? It's not about if I'm wet, right? You can have wetness and not be a yes. So like having those, so it's educating your partner really on how the female body works. Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions in the male community around, you know, how your pussy works. And if you're in a same gender relationship, it's a little bit easier, but if you're, you know, heterosexual, it can be hard to like bridge that gap and let men know this is actually, not the same as male sexuality. It's a totally different ball game.
Thank you so much. How I wish years ago when I was having my first that I had met you, because I just, I really feel, like life is a journey, right? But this information that you're bringing in this connection and this pussy connection and love just is life changing. And I thank you for all that you're doing and for sharing it here with us, because I think for all of us as birth practitioners, it's such an opportunity to use your great tips to connect with you so that we can help our clients that when they're ready to go deeper and to know about your programs. So thank you so much, Yanique. Again, the Pussy Queen. I can't wait to meet you in person and continue this discussion and journey. And for everyone here with us, I look forward to hearing all your thoughts and feedback as you take this in. Some of you couldn't be with us today, but as you're listening, please send us your thoughts, comments, and questions.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye. Ring the bell and subscribe for more orgasmic birth expert content. And if you're a birth practitioner, visit orgasmicbirth.com to learn about our special resources just for you, and follow us on Instagram at Orgasmic Birth.